I am going to take you on my favorite thing to do in Wilmington when I'm back home. I am spoiled rotten that I get this any day I want, anytime I want. Look at this. Okay, working in news is like a super stressful job, and it would just be like run and gun all day long. But then this beautiful park was a driving distance away, and I made sure that almost every weekend I came down here to kind of like reset my jets. At this point in the park, there's usually deer out around dusk, around this time of day, and it's just so beautiful. And it's the best place in the world because on that side there's the ocean, so you can watch the moon come up. But then on this side, that is the river, and that's where you can watch the sunset. And so like you can kind of like bounce back and forth between the two. This is my favorite place on earth. I'm like actually a friendly and approachable human being down here because I can really like de-stress down here. Usually when I come down, it gets ruined by typically some like couple taking engagement photos, you know, where they take those stupid, like they make their hands in the shape of a heart and look lovingly in each other's eyes. And I'm like, that is nothing like real married people. Why are you doing that? And so I'm going to kind of walk around to avoid them. But I got to show you this place because it's my favorite place on earth. Anyway, so while I am showing off this amazing home of mine called Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm not going to tell you the specific park that I'm in right now because the tourists usually will not drive this far. And don't take this personally, but I don't really want you down here. This is my spot, so I'm going to keep it a secret. But what we got to talk about is, after 6 months on the road, reflections on if you are going to travel, if you are going to do long distance, long-term travel, van conversion versus RV versus school bus conversion or Skoolie versus Airbnb. Now, I did one of these videos before I left, and I still stand by a lot of what I said, but I've made some observations on the road, especially now how I've experienced the cost of long-term travel, 6 months on the road, and because if the sale of the van goes through, I'm going to be making this exact same decision all over again. So it's worth a discussion, especially about one of those in particular, because I see, well, I'm going to hold off on that. I don't want to spoil all the drama so far in. I don't make any money if you stop watching the video this early. Let's all just be honest here. Okay, about to crest a hill. So this area, you're going to be able to figure out where it is, but you know, these like hills, part of the Civil War was fought here, and it's kind of adorable that in the South, some of the men and women that are like part of the group come down here in the winter and they dress up in their Civil War regalia, and they come up here on these mounds and they camp out in tents just like the Civil War. And all their tents are all over here, and they cook like slices of ham on the campfire, and they like do a reenactment. Only most of them are holding a Dunkin' Donuts cup, so it's not totally legit, but like A for effort. I used to have to come down and cover it for news. I always wanted to ask them, like, have y'all ever done this reenactment and the ending is different? They don't like it when Yankees ask those kind of questions, so we try to keep it friendly, keep the natives happy. But isn't this astounding? I mean, I know it's getting dark out here, but like all these trees are so windblown because of the hurricane winds, and we just missed the sunset, but it's just, it's so special. It looks like a fairy tale in here. Now, I am sweating harder than a whore in church right now because it's about 90 degrees and I have a full hoodie on. But anyone in the South knows that the mosquitoes we have down here, if you show even a little bit of skin, they will vampire you. So we're just gonna sweat it out for this video. Oh, there are people everywhere. Oh, okay, we'll get those shots later. I'm gonna talk and walk. Stay away from the engaged couples. All right. Something I forgot to mention in the Vaniversary is that one of the things that I see is total overkill in a van build that people should probably stop doing. It's all the effing lights. Christ almighty. You look up at their ceiling, these fancy schmancy Instagram build, they've got 12 recessed lights. Unless you are performing a C-section in your van, you do not need that many lights. People, I only use that center light where that pretty ceiling rose is. And I use the one next to the bed that is for reading. And other than that, I really don't turn the other ones on. It's not necessary. You've got 68 square feet. What are you trying to do? Walk the catwalk in there? You don't need it. So if you're going to do a van build, for the love of God, don't go crazy on all the recessed lights. It is actually a hindrance if you decide that you need to stealth it to have all those lights, unless you control them and can turn them off one by one. So don't go crazy. Oh, I can't put my leg up. Let's see if I can give you some background shots while we're doing this. All right, so I got my little notebook and I took some notes about choosing the right ride for your big adventure. The biggest thing with Airbnb, I am so glad that I did not go the Airbnb route. I thought about that for a while. I've got a little tiny Scion, it's paid off, it gets like 500 miles to the gallon. And I thought that that would be great. I'll just drive from city to city in my little perfect non-gas guzzler. It looks like a Mattel play car. It's made out of plastic. If I get a good breeze behind it, I don't even use gas. It's kind of like Fred Flintstone's car. Wilma had red hair. My thought there was that because the van build is so expensive, because RVs are so expensive and Skoolies are so expensive, I'll just get an Airbnb and I'll just jump from city to city to city and move around, and that'll be great, that'll be fine. Oh God, the engaged couple is vaping. Fucking millennials. You know what? Hold that thought. Let me get past these people. Vaping. It's so obnoxious. Anytime I see someone vaping, I think of that caterpillar on Alice in Wonderland that was like taking the hookah. Who are you? Just looks so dumb. And trust me, no one behind you wants a puff of vanilla mist in their face. It's obnoxious. Love this place, but yeah, there's always photo sessions here. So I'm gonna go on top of my battle mound where the cannon is so that I can do battle with any millennials who try to interfere with this video. Obligatory cannon in the background. Okay, let's rock and roll. We have things to do. So like I was saying, that I thought that would be a great idea. Save money on gas. Get the Airbnb. Then I'd have all the amenities of home, right? Of course, someone's gonna text me now. Turning this off. I'd have access to a washer and dryer. I'd have kitchen access. I'd have somewhere to park the car. I would have locals who can help me on my travels. Here's why I'm thrilled to death that I did not go the Airbnb route. It's because I would have had zero flexibility. Airbnb, once upon a time, used to be this like small community of travelers, and like for $40 you could get a room and like hang out with your host. And now, honestly, I don't know what the difference is between Airbnb and a hotel. I really don't. It's super expensive, and as a host, I understand that most people now demand like a cancellation policy because they're counting on that income. So I get that. I totally get that. However, that means that you are locked in for your reservation. Do you remember my trip? Do we all remember? I mean, I was all over the place. I was like going here, and then rerouting here, and then I'd find a small town and like stay extra days. And I was just like, I had all this flexibility. If I had done Airbnb, I would have been locked in. I got to get here. I got to check in on this date. I got to pack. I got to like check in, check out, And it would not have been flexible. I would have been stuck where I was because of those reservations. Also, now in the wintertime, like February and March, when I was out in like Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, I had lots of options for RV parks, lots of options for Airbnb, anything I wanted. Once it got warm and it was travel time and the kids were out of school, zero options. I'm thinking about Maine right now. Everything was booked in Maine. If I had just decided, like, let's just go up to Maine and like see what's out there. If I had just rolled into Maine, I would have had practically zero Airbnb options. I had zero hotel options. So once the summer hits and you're competing with everybody else who's traveling, You are not just gonna like spontaneously roll up in some place and get a good deal on an Airbnb. Honestly, it's hard to find a good deal on Airbnb at all. The price of it, again, is like, it's basically a hotel, but without the amenities. You are saving money on the build, saving money on the car, saving money on the gas mileage if you do Airbnb, but you cannot sell your Airbnb experience, you cannot reclaim those costs, and you are going to have a very rigid schedule. So you just need to know that going forward. And I, for one, am thrilled that I did not pursue that option, because I got to run around wherever I wanted because I was carrying my house with me. Oh, there's a giant bug. Yeah, the bugs in the south are so big. It's creepy. I'm not going to make eye contact with it. Skoolies are like a super popular thing on the internet, but not in real life. Some lady did a school bus conversion and like tricked it out. I mean, this thing is ridiculous. It has like a washer and dryer. It has a farmhouse sink, which I think those are stupid in a house, even stupider in an automobile. And it had a real door on the side. This thing was ridiculous. And people were tagging me left and right. We're like, you gotta do this next, you gotta do this next. And I kept writing back, absolutely not. Are you insane? No. School buses only go up for sale once they have been rode hard and hung up to dry. You are going to have a bajillion miles on it. On top of that, they already only get like 6 miles to the gallon. I don't care if it's a small one. If you get a small one, maybe it gets 11 miles to the gallon. You throw all that weight in that, 6 miles to the gallon. Same thing. So you've got a vehicle that is not fuel efficient, that is only meant to do inter-neighborhood driving. And then you throw in washers and dryers and like heavy-duty cabinetry and farmhouse sinks, and like I've seen them with wood-burning stoves. Who wants to drive down the highway at 95 miles per hour with a wood-burning stove? Not me. So I just think Skoolies are, women tend to love Skoolies. And ladies, I'm not trying to grate on our gender here, but what we do best, what we are so good at, is making things beautiful and nesting. Make it comfy, make it just absolutely, homey. But not functional. It is not functional for travel. In 6 months on the road, I never saw a Skoolie out. I didn't see one on the road. I didn't see one in a parking lot. I didn't see one parked on the side of the road. I didn't see one on a campground. I didn't see one in an RV. Nothing. Because I think what happens is people see these beautiful designs and get all kinds of crazy, because we're all kind of competing to have like the coolest build, and I'm guilty of that, but I had the coolest build, so like I win. Where's my trophy? They go over the top, they over design them, they put too much weight on them, and then I bet you anything it doesn't leave the driveway. Very beautiful, very cool, lots and lots of space, huge amount of options with that space. Safe, that is a steel cage. If that thing rolls over, you are going to be protected, but not functional for travel. Not functional for travel at all. You in no way will ever be able to stealth park with those. They stick out like a sore thumb. They take up about 3 parking spaces. You are not going to get into any major city with that because it's so damn big. I mean, to me, a Skoolie would be the coolest thing in the world if I was going to have an outside office outside my house and it wasn't really going to move ever. To do the kind of traveling that I just did, absolutely not. I know what you're thinking. It's a lot of space. I can do a lot with it. But if you actually want to travel and see things, hell no. You want to avoid any kind of repairs. You want to do your repairs at home beforehand. I don't care how long you're out. Your biggest hope is that you will never have to repair something. And here's why. No matter what you're driving, is because anytime that you go into a repair shop or a mechanic's, they've already been booked out at least 2 weeks. So you're going to be 2 weeks before you can get something looked at. Take it into consideration the fact that a school bus is a specialized vehicle. You're going to need a diesel mechanic. Now you're banking like at least a month somewhere to get something fixed. I think they're cool. I would never own one. If you gave me a school bus for free, I would give it back to you. Or I would push it into this beautiful ocean and turn it into an artificial reef. So then we're down to van versus RV, right? The big decision that we all face, van versus RV. The one I'm facing right now. I love my van. I love my van so much. Van builds are extremely expensive mostly in labor, because everything is a custom cut. Every single thing you cut, you've got curved walls, you've got teeny tiny space, everything has to be modified. They are super expensive. You can get a Class A humongous RV for like not a lot of money, used. Vans, crazy expensive. The work to do a van build, I posted a time lapse of my video doing my van build, and it like nearly broke me. It was harder than doing my house. It's also hard to sell a van build, although I think I've got a great buyer for mine, because people don't understand the work involved, and explaining that to them is difficult because they think they're just buying a car, and I'm like, no, you're buying the blood, sweat, and tears over 4 months of labor and effort to turn this thing into what it is now. So really the big thing you've got to decide is, am I handy and do I want to do this much work? If you are not handy, and if you are not willing to hit the pavement and every day be sawing things and cutting things and buying things and like getting dirty and sweating and like losing a lot of money, then you do not need to be anywhere near a van build. You need to be buying an RV. Obviously, the big benefit of the RV is space, right? The downside of the RV can also be that space, because I'll tell you what, in many, many, many Walmart parking lots, especially up north, no overnight parking, no overnight parking. Something that big as an RV, even if it's Class C, is going to stick out. It is absolutely going to stick out. The van, even when it said no overnight parking, I could still get away with it. And that was phenomenal. I had very few issues. I drove in big cities. I drove in super narrow towns like Eureka Springs. If you had an RV, you are not going to those places. You are parking way out in East Jesus and then driving that little car that you towed in on the back of your RV. Also, I never had to stay in an RV park if I didn't want to. That alone is a savings of about $4,000 to $5,000 a year in RV fees. I had no tanks to empty out. And now, on the other side of that is I also had to hunt every day for resources because I had no storage for tanks and I had no storage for food. I mean, I had the truck fridge, which is great, but you still got to go shopping a lot. So, pluses and minuses come out, right? So what are we really talking about there? What we're really saying is, I drove all over the place, and so I got to experience a lot of different climates and areas, but the key, I think, is to really do some soul searching about where you want to go. And if where you want to go is big cities, you will want a van. If where you want to go is a campsite out in a national park, fine, the RV. I did kind of all of those. And God, there's so many benefits to the van. But where I'm at right now is that my only way of making income, well, if this company keeps hiring me, that'd be great. But that's project-based work. But, this YouTube channel and Patreon and, any little side projects I can pick up, which are all video-based, that's how I make money. I have got to have space to work. It is imperative to my ability to travel and continue my travel life that I have space to work. So I may be in a position where like the RV kind of makes more sense. Plus, I really never stealthed it. I mean, I think I did it like 3 or 4 times. Out of the scope of 6 months, that's absolutely nothing. So you have to say like, okay, well, am I going to make a decision based on 3 or 4 times, or am I going to make a decision based on the majority? And the answer is the majority. Also think about who's sleeping in the van. Now, I know that on Instagram you see all these couples that look like they're just having an absolute blast, 2 people and shelter dogs crammed into a tin can, and they have no problems, right? Bullshit! I don't believe it. Think about, what was that? Think about being in 68 square feet or less with your significant other every God blessed day. I think you can only comfortably sleep 1 person in a van. I know, because I slept me in there. I can't imagine having some dude in there. I'd make him get his own van. I would tow it behind me. RVs can sleep families because, as we all know, you can pull a bed out of the microwave and fridge. Every God-blessed surface converts to a bed. Something to think about. Also, van, if you have a generator like I did, you got to tether that generator outside to power it at night. RVs, the generator is in-house. It's a lot quieter. It's a lot easier to use if you're in a parking lot. Insurance. This is kind of minimal over the scheme of things, but let's remember that when you buy a van, that's a commercial vehicle. When you buy an RV, that's a recreational vehicle. The insurance cost is about double for the van. In the scheme of things, it's not a huge expense just something to think about. It's a lot more to insure a van. It's also an issue if you want to retitle it as an RV. You got to go through the DMV. You got to do all that. That's something to consider if you need to get on the road right now. You may not have time to retitle it. You may not qualify for commercial insurance. Blah, 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 blah. Crashes. Like I said before, Skoolie's ultra safe. Van, steel. Babe bus, she's built ram tough. RVs are kind of plasticky. That's what I don't like about RVs. They feel like they're cheaply made. You get in there, everything is brown and plastic. Has nobody in an RV manufacturer figured out that there are other colors besides brown? It's terrible. In the van, I used high quality materials. I used real wood, and I really like that about my conversion. In the event of an accident, I am very confident in the van and holding up in a crash. RVs are very plastic and fiberglass, not going to hold up. All right, something else to consider. Consider what your daily life in the van will be like, or your RV. If you are not in excellent shape, if you have back issues, let me tell you something. Crawling around in a van, being in tight spaces, hunching over, getting down on your knees to get things is not going to be awesome for you. An RV is more like a house. You'll be able to stand up straight. You will have room to move. You will have room to stretch out. I know that the biggest issue, people get so bent out of shape on a van bill because they don't have a shower and bathroom. I got bent out of shape at one point because I said the shower is a limiting agent. I always had to find a Planet Fitness or Anytime Fitness in order to get a shower. And I was like, forget it, I'm going to build a shower into my next van build. And then I really thought about it. There are very few times where I couldn't find a Planet Fitness or Anytime Fitness. So somebody else carried the water, somebody else paid for the water, somebody else cleaned the shower. To put a shower on a van, that's a lot of humidity inside the van, and you are going to be carrying a humongous amount of weight to have a shower. I think in retrospect, I'd rather have those couple days that were really uncomfortable because I didn't have a shower and wait till the next gym than to carry that much weight and have the space of a shower on the van. A lot of people want a toilet. I want a real toilet. If you have to have a real toilet, then get yourself an RV. But know that you are going to have to stop at parks and other places to empty out your tanks, which is a really nasty job. It's not horrible. It's not great. Let me tell you what, ladies, especially you. You get over having to pee in a bottle and poop in a bag and all that other stuff. You get over it real quick. It's not a big deal. It's really not. Okay? Look at what you're buying for the inconvenience of having to pee and lay shitter. You get to be in some really cool places. Put on your big girl panties, buckle up, you'll be fine. Not a big deal. And since I'm pretty much out of sunlight, and I'm not even sure if this video is going to look good because of the low light, I'm just going to give you one, and I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. One just bit my butt. He knew where the meaty tissue was. I'm not sure between van and RV right now. I'm really not. And I think I am having a hard time imagining myself going to an apartment for any amount of time. I just think you're throwing away money. I'm not going to qualify for a mortgage for a while because I'm technically unemployed. And I want to travel more. I feel like there are a lot more stories that I can tell, and I think we did an amazing thing by starting out with this little idea and what was built in 6 months. So I want to keep going. I want to keep seeing what's out there. And the big decision I have to make is, as much as I love the van and would love another van, and I love the smallness of the van, is that really practical to the way that I make money and living in it for a long term? So these are all things to think about. This is the stuff that I've learned after 6 months on the road in my babe bus. I hope some of it was helpful. And before another mosquito jabs me in the butt, oh my God, that hurts. I'm going to get going. Welcome home to Wilmington, North Carolina. I don't think y'all will be able to see anything, but I have the beautiful moon in my background. I have our beautiful Cape Fear River here. I can hear the ocean from where I am. I could not be a happier girl right now. Good night, everybody. I'll talk to you again later.